Hello loves and welcome to today's video. If you watch my best books of 2024 video, you know that one of my favorite books from last year was Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. And I was aware of Chuck Tingle before this book, before Camp Damascus, because of his Tinglers, his random, topical, short romance novels. And I never got around to reading any of those. I was just aware of them through Tumblr. Now that I fell in love with this book, I've decided that it's time for me to read some Tinglers. I've downloaded a variety of Chuck Tingle's Tinglers, and I'm gonna read them with you today and see how much sanity I have by the end of the day. The first one I picked is topical because I chose Pounded by my pre-order of Chuck Tingle's new traditionally published horror novel Bury Your Gaze because pre-ordering is a fantastic way of directly supporting authors you like, by USA Today bestselling author and two-time Hugo Award finalist Chuck Tingle. Let's go, buckaroos. You're so fucking big. I'm the longest book Chuck Tingle's ever written, he coos in my ear. Another interesting tidbit that causes another tremble of sensation to pulse across my frame. I mean, it is pretty girthy. Not the biggest I've ever seen, but I guess big for Chuck. The truth is, our story and that story have one last thing in common, a very important message. What message, I press? Let queer artists express themselves however the fuck they need to. The pre-order replies, make space for strange, unique, queer, neurodivergent art and support it when you can. Yeah, what a heartwarming message for this book to have. Strange, unique, queer, and neurodivergent is like 90% of what I try to read, honestly. Or at least 90% of what I end up giving 5 stars, so hell yeah, Chuck. What a heartwarming message in this book about getting fucked by a book. That's that one. I loved it. It was 12 pages long, but Chuck Tingle's writing, very good. The spicy scene, spicy. The message, heartwarming. Well done, Chuck Tingle. A great experience for my first Tingler. The next one I'm gonna read is going to be one that is kind of what Chuck Tingle is known for most, which is his dinosaur ones. So I'm gonna read Punk Rock Parasaurolophus Eats My Ass. Hell yeah. Lesbian dinosaurs. Sometimes you're reading something and you say a sentence you never thought you'd say in your life, and in this case for me it was, do dinosaurs have pussies? Or is it more of a cloaca situation? This seems to imply they do, but I've never particularly looked into dinosaur anatomy in that way. I'm gonna trust that Chuck Tingle knows what he's talking about, though. He has numerous dinosaur romances, and I'm gonna trust that he has done that research, so I don't have to. So it occurs to me I never told you what the first one I read was. Pounded in the butt by my pre-order of Chuck Tingle's new traditionally published blah, blah, blah. So in that one, there's a Chuck Tingle fan who finds an artifact that they think is a polar bear and a snowflake. So they go to the Arctic because they're trying to find out what Chuck Tingle's new book is about. Turns out it's not a polar bear and snowflake, it's someone bending over in a butthole. So then they go to Hollywood because they found out it's not an artifact, it's a prop from Hollywood. And in Hollywood, they meet the pre-order of Bury Your Gaze and get pounded by it. Good time. Obviously not serious literature, but it was fun. Now in this second one that I read, Punk Rock Parasaurolophus Eats My Ass, there's this woman who doesn't like music, and then her friend keeps trying to introduce her to new music, and the first song that even like slightly resonates with her is this dinosaur-led punk band, and it turns out that that punk band has a gig in like an hour, so they go to see it, and she ends up crowd surfing and ending up on stage, and then after the concert she ends up in the green room of the lead singer, who is a Parasaurolophus. I'm definitely butchering that pronunciation, but we'll go with it. Then they hook up in the green room. Didn't have quite as much of a heartwarming message, other than like sometimes people don't like things and that's okay. I also can't relate because I am a music lover. That one was just okay. It was spicy again. It was well described. That's what I've come to expect from Chuck Tingle on my fourth, technically, book of Chuck Tingle, because I've read Camp Damascus, Bury Your Gays, his traditionally published horror, and then I've read now these two Tinglers. That one was just okay. I'd rank that below the pre-order one. Next, we're gonna go with a politically charged topical one, and go conservative pounded by the realization that the protest music he grew up on does not actually support his current hateful ideology. Straight out the gate with this one. First sentence. As a United States Senator, there are a lot of days where my job is actually pretty meaningless. Not pulling punches. What the hell? I thought we'd fuck and I'd become the hero. Hilo shakes his head. You're the protagonist of this story, but you're not the hero. The heroes are the ones who've been out here fighting for truth and justice since day one. The people you've been battling against for years. You've got a lot to make up for. So I finished Conservative Pounded by the Realization that the protest music he grew up on does not actually support his current hateful ideology by Chuck Tingle. This one was about a conservative politician who is about to vote against Unicare health bill that would help unicorns with horn issues. The power goes off at the Senate, so he goes outside and his favorite band is playing and he's all into it, and then the band's like, fuck Gorp, whatever the guy's name was. It was nonsense. And he's like, wait, hold up. That's me. Why y'all saying fuck me for? Then he meets the manifestation of the protest music he grew up on. It tells him basically that fighting against the system is not the leftist system. If you are a politician, you are the system. Then they get pounded, which felt really repetitive of the same scene from the Pounded by the pre-order one. It felt very similar. I would say probably don't read these back to back like I'm doing right now because it might get a little repetitive, but still, it was well written in the first one, so it was well written here, and then the guy is like, cool, I'm a hero now, but he's not a hero because he still was doing shitty things before, and you can't just say that you're a better person. You have to actually do that through action. That one was all right. It was funny. I liked the satire, political commentary, but the sex scene was repetitive. I would say probably above the punk rock period, blah, 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 but below the pre-order one. Then we're gonna do one that is a monster, not a dinosaur. This was under the Bigfoot category, but it's not Bigfoot, it's fucking Mothman, who I love. So we're gonna read Bisexual Mothman, Mailman makes a special delivery in our butts. I have now finished Bisexual Mothman, Mailman makes a special delivery in our butts. So this one, there's a bisexual couple who work from home. Their normal mail delivery man has quit, so they now have a new mailman who is Mothman, and they find him really attractive. So they start ordering packages so they can see him more often. And one day they get a delivery and they are like, hey, do you want to come in and see we open these packages? And they were sex toys, so there's a cock ring. They have threesome, very steamy. Oof. Very, very steamy. I see, well written, not as much political commentary in this one, just some steamy threesome with mom. I didn't hate it, honestly. This one might be my favorite. This one, Bury Your Gays pre-order, Senator one, and then the dinosaur one. I think we've gotten a good breadth of what to expect from Chuck Tingle's work now, and so I am going to read one of his Patreon books. All of these I got on Patreon, by the way. It was like $15 a month Canadian. You get all of his works that have been posted on Patreon, so I'll put a link to that in the description in case you are interested in checking out some Tinglers. For our last one, now that we have our introduction to Chuck Tingle and his breadth of work, I'm going to read Dr. Chuck Tingle's Complete Guide to Romance to maybe get some insights and some perspective on why he writes what he writes, and then we'll call it a day. So I got the implication that Chuck Tingle's Tinglers were all in an interconnected universe, and this guidebook is very much giving me that, because the first chapter is like how to date various things like dinosaurs, unicorns, cryptids, well, Bigfoot, and sentient objects. This is very much not intended to be taken seriously because this is the chapter on deal breakers. First one, religion. Yeah, makes sense. Second one, spaghetti and chocolate milk. First off, if your potential partner is bluntly adverse to either of these culinary masterpieces, whether it is through preference or an allergic reaction, disconnect from them immediately. Luckily for me, I do like chocolate milk and spaghetti, so I'm safe. I'm dateable. Thank you very much. Hold up. I cut that clip off way too soon because then I got to the paragraph after that. Of course, this advice is considered controversial due to the fact that, legally speaking, spaghetti and chocolate milk are not allowed in the United States thanks to unfair flavor laws. While demanding that your potential partner be, technically speaking, a criminal might seem a little harsh to some, the fact is we live in a time of great political turmoil, and at some point lines must be drawn. What a world Chuck Tingle is building for me here. I love him so much. This is... It's unhinged, but I'm so into it. So I have finished Dr. Chuck Tingle's Guide to Romance. It would have functioned as a really good introduction to Chuck Tingle because it basically went over kind of his different tropes. By that I mean like Dinosaur Romance, Bigfoot Romance, Sentient Object Romance, and then also would use like excerpts from some of his Tinglers as examples. There's one point where they talk about oral, and he uses an example from one of his books of where he wrote a scene including that. That was a really good introduction to his world if I hadn't already read 4 of his books already. So that's my little dive into some Chuck Tingle Tinglers. I still recommend reading Bury Your Gaze, and honestly, if you're just looking for a silly, goofy time, I also would recommend the Tinglers. You can access like a bunch of them if you subscribe to his Patreon. I think he also sells them on Amazon. A silly, goofy time. A good way to spend a Sunday afternoon if you just need something light and quick and fun. If you made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comments down below what cryptid you think would make the best lover. Let's start that conversation. Or leave the... Is there a Bigfoot emoji? Leave the CD emoji for the protest music. If you enjoyed this video, like and consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. I promise I do read actual published novels like Bury Your Gaze. Thank you for watching, buckaroos, and have a great day.